I'm Martha. I'm 67 years old. I live on a pension on the 30th floor in a condo in New York City. It's not because my family is wealthy or I won the lottery. When I was a teenager, my family was poor. Since my younger siblings were still small, I started working at a sewing factory near our home, right after graduating from junior high to help support the family. At that time, it wasn't uncommon to start working right after junior high. The sewing factory I worked at mainly handled women's underwear. As times changed, women's social advancement progressed. And women's underwear evolved from something to hide the body to fashionable items that could be shown off. The demand grew for a variety of underwear, from comfortable, everyday pieces that didn't squeeze the body, to luxurious ones meant for special occasions, and even shapewear to ease insecurities. By then, I had become an experienced worker, suggesting ideas unique to women, and I received several awards from the company president. When I started working, Mr. Smith, the president, looked like a guy working at the old neighborhood factory, but before I knew it, he was wearing high-end brand suits. I got married late, in my 30s, and had my son, Tyler. My siblings grew up and became self-sufficient, giving us financial stability, but I continued working at the sewing factory. Above all, I loved that job. When the company decided to go public, Mr. Smith offered me the chance to buy shares since I had been with the company for a long time. Those shares eventually soared in value, and that's how I came into a lot of money. Our family of 3 lived happily in a 2-bedroom apartment, but after discussing it with my husband, we decided to buy a new condo as our forever home. However, before the condo was completed, my husband passed away from an illness. This place feels too spacious. Living here with just the 2 of us feels lonely, I said to Tyler, gazing at the cityscape from our new room. Then he said something unbelievable. "Mom, I'm not planning to leave our current apartment." Could that really be? When I pressed him for a reason, he reluctantly confessed, "Mom, I'm afraid of heights." I had no idea he was afraid of heights. If I had known, I would have chosen a lower floor. "Why didn't you tell me before we decided?" I asked, feeling frustrated. "It was something you and Dad decided, right? You both wanted to live here, so I thought it was fine. I never imagined Dad would pass away so soon." I truly felt the same way. We both ended up feeling sad. In the end, Tyler never moved into the condo and stayed alone in the apartment, where we had lived as a family. I lived alone in the condo for a while, but eventually, I felt so lonely that I decided to move back to the 2-bedroom apartment, filled with memories of my late husband, and live with Tyler again. Isn't it a waste? Why not rent it out to someone? Tyler suggested, but I'm not in need of money. I thought that if Tyler ever got married, I, as his future wife's mother-in-law, could move into the condo. But he, who is now 35, shows no signs of getting married anytime soon. Marriage doesn't necessarily mean happiness, but I can't help but think it would be better for him to have a family after I'm gone, so he won't be all alone without siblings. And, I admit a bit, I'd like to see my grandchildren's faces. I haven't told Tyler this because it's my selfish wish. However, he seems to have a girlfriend, so I'm not too worried. One day, he told me he wanted to introduce a woman to me. Finally, the day had come. Though I was secretly excited, I kept my composure and said, "Oh really? That's wonderful. Are you bringing her home? I'll cook something special." When I said that, he smiled shyly and said, "Thanks, Mom." I couldn't help but ask, "So, what is she like?" I mean, I was really curious. Blushing even more, he said, "Well, she's from the same company. She's 33 and very kind and reliable." Got it. She's the older sister type, right? When I said that, he looked surprised and asked, "How did you know?" Thinking back, he always liked the kind caregivers at daycare. In elementary, junior high, and high school, he seemed to prefer older girls, rather than younger, cute ones. The singers and actresses he admired were also mature and composed. It seems like some preferences don't change over time. I believe such a woman suits my slightly laid-back son. A few days later, as I eagerly awaited meeting her, Tyler made a shocking confession. "Mom, something has changed since we last talked." He said this with a serious look on his face. Could they have broken up? Actually, it seems I got another girl pregnant. I have to take responsibility and marry her. What? Wait a minute. What does he mean? He had someone he was considering marrying, but he cheated and got another girl pregnant? I was stunned by this sudden turn of events. I had so many questions but didn't know how to ask my dejected son. It didn't seem like something that would happen to my responsible, easygoing son. After managing to get more details, I learned that at the company's Christmas party last December, he had passed out drunk and woke up in a hotel with this girl next to him. Yesterday, she informed him that she was pregnant. Indeed, he isn't strong with alcohol. He falls asleep quickly after drinking, which I know well. It's not unheard of to hear stories about losing memory after drinking, so I couldn't dismiss what happened to him. "Do you like her?" I asked. "I don't know. I've never thought about it," he replied. "And what about the woman you wanted to introduce to me initially? Did you explain to her?" It was difficult to ask, but I needed to know. I apologized on my knees and got her forgiveness. My son looked very distressed as he said this. Oh, what a situation. Anyway, he's bringing the pregnant girl over next Sunday. I didn't know if I should be angry or sad. Should I be happy about suddenly having a grandchild? I wasn't sure. Should I move out if you two are getting married? I've heard that many brides don't want to live in a house with just the mother-in-law and husband. But Tyler said, "No, she's young and probably anxious, so can you stay and help out for a while? If that's the case, I'll support them as much as I can. And Mom, could you please not mention the condo? If she finds out, she'll definitely want to live there." He seems to really not want to live there. I nodded in agreement with a wry smile. Sunday came in no time. "Mom, this is Kelly." Tyler introduced her to me. I was quite surprised when I saw her. He said she was 23, but she looked like a teenager at first glance. I couldn't help but wonder if Tyler, who had always preferred older women, was now dazzled by younger girls as he got older. It was such an unexpected thought that I couldn't help but consider it. Kelly was a very cute girl with big eyes, but when introduced, she only gave a slight smile and seemed somewhat sullen. I also noticed she was constantly looking around the room as if inspecting it. I shouldn't think of her like that. I wondered if this is what people call being a nosy mother-in-law. I never thought I would be like this, but not having a good impression of the woman Tyler brought might indeed be a sign of that instinct. "Kelly, I'm Tyler's mother. I don't know what to say about all this, but I'll support you, so please let me know if you need anything," I said with a smile. Kelly only responded with a half-hearted "yeah." She barely touched the homemade food I had carefully prepared, and didn't offer any comments on it. I hate to say it, but her way of using cutlery was terrible too. I wondered if this was another mother-in-law scrutiny and felt a bit of self-loathing. The conversation didn't flow well, and it was decided that we would visit Kelly's house next week. When Tyler returned after dropping Kelly off, I said, "She's very cute. She looks so young." Looking troubled, he said, "Yeah, I've been teased a lot at work. They called me a Lolita complex. The female employees gave me cold looks. Since the woman Tyler had been dating also worked at the same company, it must have been incredibly awkward for both of them. I felt very sorry for her. I don't like to remember the visit to Kelly's house. For Kelly's parents, it must have been unimaginable to send their precious only daughter off like this. I can understand that. Kelly's family seemed like an ordinary one, living in a 3-bedroom condo. Her strong-willed mother and serious-looking father seemed to adore Kelly. So, it was understandable that they were harsh towards Tyler and me. But I overheard something. On my way back from the bathroom to the living room, I heard Kelly's mother in the kitchen saying, "I wanted you to marry into a family with both parents and a proper college education. But now you have to marry an almost middle-aged son, whose mother is a high school dropout and lives on a pension." Kelly's disdainful attitude towards me was because I was a high school dropout. I don't regret starting to work right after junior high school and am proud of my life. But realizing that their values were different from ours was quite depressing. Kelly's parents tried to persuade their only daughter, who said she didn't want a wedding, but they had to give in when she insisted. I'm too sick with morning sickness. They made it clear they blamed Tyler for this. I left Kelly's house exhausted, knowing she was moving in with us next week. I felt a deep sense of anxiety about how things would go. And my fears came true. Kelly moved in with an enormous amount of luggage. I didn't expect her to come without her belongings, but she should have known the size of our apartment from her previous visit. Where did she think she would put that large wardrobe? Kelly, this wardrobe won't fit. But my mom said to bring it because she bought it for me, she pouted. But it just wasn't possible. If we bring this in, you and Tyler will have to sleep in the living room. I explained. She reluctantly agreed to leave the wardrobe out. However, it wasn't just the wardrobe. She had a huge amount of clothes, bags, and shoes, all of which were designer brands. I was amazed that her doting parents had bought her all these things. Wow, most of this is designer brands, right? I remarked. It's normal. Don't you have any? She asked indifferently. Not really, I never had much interest. It wasn't out of bitterness, but Kelly gave a smug look and said, I thought so, with a sneer. There was no space to store all those designer items. Then Kelly said, why don't you get rid of those toys and DVDs? The toys she referred to were the model kits Tyler had meticulously built since he was a child. They were neatly displayed on the shelves. It was indeed true that Tyler had a considerable collection of books and DVDs. But for her to tell him to get rid of them, just to make space for her things, seemed quite harsh. But then Tyler, understanding as ever, said, yeah, I'll get rid of them. With a baby on the way, we'll need more space anyway. I called him over quietly and asked if he was really okay with it. In a resigned tone, he said he had no choice, so I told him, you don't have to get rid of them. I'll store them at the other place. There was plenty of space available, so there was no need to worry. Even so, he apologized to me repeatedly. By the time we managed to secure a sleeping space, it was past 9 p.m., so I made a light meal of soup. Kelly neither helped with the preparations nor the cleanup. After eating, she quickly went to take a bath and then went to bed. The next morning, even when it was time for Tyler to leave for work, Kelly didn't wake up. Tyler ate the breakfast I made and said, she's having a tough time with morning sickness, so please take care of her, and left. Kelly finally got up after 10 a.m. Looking at the breakfast laid out on the table, she said, gross. I can't eat this. I couldn't understand what she found gross or why she couldn't eat it. She muttered, oatmeal. I see. She just didn't like it. Would you prefer bread? I'll make that from tomorrow. I offered. She ordered. I hate oatmeal. Just looking at it makes me sick. Can you please get rid of it? She didn't say anything like, I'm sorry you went to all this trouble, or I'm not good with it, sorry, or I'll make breakfast next time. Is this just me being a mother-in-law? Would she see me as a mother-in-law trying to force her to eat what she hates? It's not breakfast time anymore. What would you like for lunch? Trying to change the mood, I asked, and she said, I'm going out, so I don't need lunch. And she promptly went to the bathroom to put on makeup and get ready to go out. I sighed, thinking, wasn't she supposed to be suffering from morning sickness? As I wrapped up her untouched breakfast to have for my lunch. The next afternoon, I told her, I'm going to the community center by the station. Could you handle dinner, please? She responded, huh? You're on a pension and you go to a community center? Actually, I teach sewing at the community center twice a week. I use the skills I acquired in the sewing factory to teach sewing. Tuesdays are for beginners who have never touched a sewing machine. Fridays are for more advanced students who can make clothes using patterns. No, I'm not going there to learn. I teach sewing classes. I explained. She looked surprised for a moment, then sullenly said, wow, even a high school dropout can be a teacher. I knew she had those kinds of values, but her words still hurt. They carried a deep malice. When I got home that evening, there was a delivery pizza on the living room table. Kelly went out 2 or 3 times a week to shop, meet friends, or go to the salon, and she didn't do any housework. When she was home, she stayed in her room playing on her phone or sleeping. Sometimes she wasn't home even when Tyler came back. We would get a call on his phone saying she was staying at her parents' house and wouldn't be back. If she told me beforehand, I wouldn't worry, and we wouldn't waste dinner. That way, there would be no need to worry, and dinner wouldn't go to waste. Maybe she found it hard to say she was going back to her parents' house so soon after moving in. He said. But this happened several times. Once, I overheard her talking to a friend on the phone. Can you believe it? She teaches sewing, but her taste is so outdated. It's a hassle for the students. She's probably desperate because she can't live on her pension. She said, laughing. I felt incredibly sad. Even so, I wanted to get along with her and was willing to make an effort. I never told Tyler any of this, but sometimes he worried and asked, Mom, are you okay? You seem a bit down. His concern made me both happy and sad. I felt sorry for not getting along with Kelly. One time, I decided to surprise her with a present. It's a handmade maternity dress. I had consulted with some young women in my class, and they assured me, she will absolutely love this. I will never forget Kelly's reaction when she opened the package and unfolded the dress. What is this? Clearly, she wasn't pleased, and my heart sank as I said, it's a maternity dress. I made it myself. She then said, this makes me look super fat. It's designed to be roomy so you can wear it as your belly grows. I explained. But Kelly continued. Handmade stuff is creepy. It feels like it's cursed or something. Cursed? When had I ever harbored any ill will toward her? I had made clothes and accessories for friends many times, but I had never encountered such a reaction. Even though I understood our values were different, I felt as if my skills and my way of life were being completely rejected. And I was on the verge of tears. I realized I couldn't live with Kelly anymore. I sensed that she felt the same way. However, I was worried about leaving Tyler alone with Kelly, who did nothing around the house. Kelly, you married Tyler because you love him, right? I asked. What? Where did that come from? Well, yes. I wasn't sure if I could believe her words. There's a significant age difference between you two. What do you like about him? If Kelly truly loved him, I believe they could make it on their own. He's kind, I guess, she said, as if she was talking about someone else's life. Still, I decided to trust that she saw kindness in Tyler. I think I'll move out. Do you think you two can manage on your own? Kelly's expression lit up with a brief moment of joy. She must have thought the nuisance would be gone. Can you handle cooking, cleaning, and laundry on your own? I asked out of concern, but it seemed to irritate Kelly. You did those things on your own accord. I can do them too. If she said so, there was nothing more I could say. I'll have my things moved out later. Please take care of Tyler, I said, and starting to leave. Kelly's words struck my back as I left. Don't come back to us if you need anything. We're cutting ties. Goodbye. I wondered if she meant it, but I no longer had the energy to question her. Back at the condo, I received a call from Tyler. Mom. What's going on? Kelly had fed him a convenient lie and badmouthed me. I'm sorry I couldn't get along with her. I think I'm just a bit tired, I managed to say. In the spacious condo, even when I invited friends for coffee or spent time sewing, my spirits didn't lift. I secretly thought that if Tyler got married, I would at least want to sew a dress for outfit change at the wedding, if not the wedding dress. And if he had children, I would love to make lots of clothes for them. I felt pathetic for thinking that way. One day, after my class ended, a woman approached me. You're Tyler's mother, right? As soon as I heard her calm, slightly low voice, I knew she was the woman Tyler had broken up with, the one he had knelt before to apologize. With her long black hair and light makeup. She had a strong will and seemed like the reliable older sister type. I couldn't help but think, if only this had been the woman Tyler brought home. I'm Samantha, the one who used to date Tyler. May I speak with you for a moment? She invited me to a cafe downstairs, and as soon as we sat down, I apologized to her. I'm truly sorry about all this. Both Tyler and I can't apologize enough. Samantha quickly interrupted, waving her hand as if to stop me. Please, there's no need for you to apologize, she said, looking flustered. Then, as if gathering her resolve, she said, You may not believe me, but I don't think the baby Kelly is carrying is Tyler's. For a moment, I didn't understand what she was saying. Could such a thing be possible? If that were true, Tyler and I had been deceived. But why? According to Samantha, Kelly had been involved with her married supervisor, Henry, since shortly after she joined the company. This was an open secret among the female employees, and it was rumored that the extravagant designer's brand items she had were gifts from him. Tyler, who was often out on business, probably didn't know. That made sense. If he had known, this situation would never have happened. However, I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I said, Isn't it possible it was a mistake, made under the influence of alcohol? Tyler is very weak with alcohol, isn't he? I've had drinks with him many times, but nothing like that ever happened afterward. Samantha, blushing, confessed. Still unable to fully believe such a ridiculous story, Samantha delivered the decisive blow. Kelly still meets Henry once or twice a week, she said, pulling a large envelope from her bag and handing it to me. Inside were numerous photos of Kelly with a middle-aged man I didn't recognize, looking very close. That's not all. There were also pictures of them entering and leaving a hotel, clinging to each other. So those outings were for that purpose. The nights she said she was staying at her parents' house might have been lies too. My head started to spin. I'm sorry. I hired a private detective on my own. I just couldn't forgive her, Samantha said, tears welling up. At that moment, I realized this woman still loved Tyler. I can't forgive her either. But why? If the baby in her belly was Henry's, why did she marry Tyler? I couldn't understand. She probably wanted to have Henry's baby. But she couldn't marry him because he has a family. She didn't want to face societal judgment or the hardships of being a single mother. So? Samantha bit her lip in frustration. So Tyler was the one caught in her trap. Even though he's a bit slow and easygoing, exploiting his kindness like this is unforgivable. Tyler just apologized and asked for forgiveness without explaining anything to me. If he had told me the truth. If Tyler had explained everything to Samantha, then we could have stopped this. They rushed the marriage without a wedding for this reason, I thought. I made up my mind. I couldn't let this continue. Samantha, thank you so much. Leave the rest to me. And if you could, please don't give up on Tyler just yet. I pleaded sincerely. Yes. For Samantha, who answered with a tearful smile. And most importantly for Tyler, I must resolve this matter. I called Tyler and arranged to meet him after work. When I told him everything, he was stunned and muttered, I can't believe I was played like that. Still, I thought there was a chance, albeit small, that the baby could be his. He might have developed feelings for her since they were already married. However, when Tyler said, Well, we haven't been intimate even once since we got married, I felt both pathetic and relieved. And how's Samantha? Is she okay? She's so daring, he said. He clearly minds Samantha. To be happy with Samantha, you need to steel yourself, I said. He nodded firmly in agreement. A few days later, Tyler brought Kelly to my house. He had invited her to have dinner at the condo near the station, and she had eagerly agreed. The first 3 floors have shops, and you can find almost anything you need there, including famous restaurants. Kelly thought they were going to eat at one of the restaurants, but when Tyler headed for the residential elevator instead, she panicked and said, Where are we going? What are you doing? Welcome. Please come in. I greeted them, dressed a bit more elegantly than usual and wearing some chic jewelry. Even after stepping inside and seeing me, Kelly seemed to have no idea what was happening. Ah. Tyler, your things are over there. I pointed to a corner of the spacious living room where his collection was displayed. Finally, Kelly realized where she was and confronted Tyler. No way. Seriously? What's going on? Why is she living in a condo? He replied casually, because this is the apartment my mom bought. Kelly's eyes sparkled instantly. She ran to the window, opened the curtains, and sighed at the cityscape spread out below. Wow. What are you, Martha? She asked in a sweet voice I had never heard before. Yes, I bought this condo. It's strange, isn't it? For an old lady with just a junior high school education, and living on a pension to be able to live here? I said with as much sarcasm as I could muster. Kelly didn't seem to care and said, since this is your condo, it will be Tyler's someday, right? We could move out of that shabby apartment and live here. I thought, here it comes. She already assumes this condo will be hers. She seemed to have completely forgotten I had talked about cutting ties with her. Tyler, to dampen her excitement, said, we won't be living here. I don't like heights. What are you talking about? If you don't want to live here, I will. Kelly shouted. That's not possible either. You won't be his wife or my daughter-in-law anymore. I said. What are you talking about? Tyler got me pregnant. I had to quit my job because of him. Isn't that ruining my life? She retorted fiercely. You're the one trying to ruin my life. Tyler said calmly, spreading out the divorce petition and the photos of Kelly with Henry. What? Wait a minute. What is this? Kelly stammered, trying to deny the undeniable evidence. But. The baby is your child. I have rights. She insisted. The child might have rights, but you, who committed infidelity, don't. Tyler replied coolly. If the DNA test proves the child is mine, I'll pay child support and alimony. And if you can't raise the child, I'll take custody. Of course, I was fully prepared to support this as well. Although I doubted that would be the case. Finally realizing it was useless to argue, Kelly glared at us with resentment, took the divorce petition, and left the room. It left a bitter aftertaste, but I felt we could finally regain our lives. The next day, we received a strong complaint from Kelly's parents, but when we explained the facts with evidence, they were deeply shocked. Despite this, they decided to take care of their daughter and grandchild at their home. Later, Kelly gave birth and reportedly went to Henry's office, baby in hand, demanding marriage. The scandal reached the bosses, and Henry was demoted and transferred to a remote location. His wife filed for divorce and demanded alimony. Henry's situation was self-inflicted, so there was no sympathy. Yet, Kelly followed him. The only truth was that she loved Henry. I hope the child, who was once supposed to be my grandchild, finds happiness. Though I fear Kelly might bring misfortune wherever she goes. As for Tyler, he and Samantha reconciled and, just recently, he formally proposed marriage to her, and she accepted. The proposal was quite awkward, with Tyler saying, I've got a divorce behind me, but will you marry me? Since they are both over 30, they say they want a modest wedding. But I said, a secret marriage is out of the question. Besides, it's been my dream to sew a dress for the bride's reception. When I boldly expressed this, Samantha was overjoyed. However, the problem for their new home was Tyler's fear of heights. He said, if I keep the curtains closed and don't look outside, I can manage. But he still seemed uneasy and I felt sorry for him. Currently, Tyler, Samantha, and I are considering buying a new room on a lower floor to replace the current one. Although I loved the view from the 30th floor, their happiness is more important. It seems the day I will meet my real grandchild is not too far away.